What's up guys, it's Perlin here, and today I want to talk about the places that I've been traveling. So I always get this question, Perlin, where have you been to? Where have you been traveling? And how did you get this travel bug that you have to make travel your life, to change everything around in your life to be able to support travel long term? And now becoming a travel coach, and I help people get on the road and travel the world. And so people always ask me, Perlin, where have you been? So this video, I'm going to tell you exactly where I've been so far in the world. I'm going to give you a few little sneak peeks about some footage and photos of those places, and also how this has developed me into the type of person I am now who loves to travel and teaches travel. So first up, I started traveling around Australia with my family. When I was a kid, we got this awesome bus. We traveled all around Australia, up the coast, up to Cairns, across to Darwin, around Kakadu National Park, around there. That was really fun. And then down the centre of Australia, down to Alice Springs, checked out Uluru, down to Adelaide, Melbourne, and then back round to where we lived on the Central Coast. So that was my first sort of big travel. We did that with family in this awesome bus, and that was really fun, and that got me excited to just be out on the road and looking at different places from where I sort of grew up, checking out all these different places of Australia. So that was fun. After that, I did a couple of different trips within Australia. So I went snorkeling on the Whitsundays. I went snowboarding at Mount Buller near Melbourne. That was super fun. Different road trips up and down the East Coast, surfing, things like that. And then after that, the first trip I did overseas was to Bali with a friend, and it was a surf trip. So we both went over there, had our surfboards, and we went to Kuta Beach, and we went to different places a bit further down, and then the swell picked up really big. And so we went way up the coast to this really good, super good wave. It just sort of rolled on for ages. So good. Love Bali for surfing. And that was my first experience overseas. And that was where I really got the travel bug for world travel and overseas travel. Because before then I'd only been in Australia. And I went over to Bali and, new culture, and everything was new and amazing, and different language and different people. And, I really got that drive within me saying, oh, I have to go more. I have to go traveling a lot more. I want to see the world. And that was where it first started. And also, that was where I realized that travel can be really, really cheap. In Australia, it's not that cheap to travel around Australia. And so when I went over to Bali, the prices were crazy cheap. And I was like, wow, you can actually travel cheaper than even living in Australia, being on the road in cheaper countries. So that opened up a lot of opportunities in my mind. After that, the next overseas trip I did was to New Zealand. I went snowboarding with different family members, and we went over there and snowboarded. We stayed at Lake Wanaka, and then you catch a bus up to different, mountains that were surrounding it, and it was epic snow, fresh powder. There's all these unridden tracks everywhere. In Australia, they cut a path through the trees to make runs for your snowboarding. In New Zealand, it's just big, bare, empty, hills and stuff where you can just sort of go anywhere, especially up the top. And then further down, you got more trees and forest type things. But that was amazing. So then I got back from that, and I was like, I want to go around the world. I want to get a round the world ticket. I want to travel to all these different countries. I need more travel. And so I organized this round the world trip and round the world ticket, and I prepared it all, planned it all. And so I first flew into San Francisco through Auckland, stayed in Auckland for a couple of days. That was nice. Headed into San Francisco and, checked out that really cool city. It's actually really cold, the weather changes really fast in San Francisco. And then stayed there for a while. That was really fun. And then I went out to Burning Man and checked out Burning Man because I really wanted to go to that. And that was amazing. That's a big festival in the desert, in the Nevada desert. And it's just a 24-hour party. There's always something happening at Burning Man. And, crazy vehicles rolling around, and everyone's partying, and everyone's dressed up with all these crazy costumes or no costumes at all. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. Then after Burning Man, came back to San Francisco, went down to LA. LA was nice. After LA, I flew down to Cancun, partied in Cancun, checked out a bit of Mexico. That was really fun. I went to Merida, I believe it's called, which is a bit more inland. It's a big city. That was very cultural. Really liked Mexico, different places there. Went to a few different old Mayan ruins and Mayan temples. I also went over to Cuba, which is crazy. I flew into Havana, and Havana is like stuck in time. Like all of the buildings and streets and everything, they're all sort of cracking and crumbling on the corners. All the street edges are crumbling away and stuff. But there's people still living there, and everyone's going about their business. And there's really old classic cars that are rolling around the streets, and it's just been stuck because the trade got cut off from the US for so long. So it was very interesting to see that, and to see how people were living over there and what the situation was and the lifestyle that they had. And so flew into Havana, and then I caught the bus down to Santa Clara, which was really cool. It's very cultural. It's all very cultural in Cuba. And then from there went down to Trinidad, which is like a beach destination. It's a very classic spot to head to in Cuba. So after Trinidad, I made my way by bus all the way down to Santiago de Cuba, which is right down the end of Cuba. And that was really cool. That's like a harbor port destination city. That was fun. And then from there, I went over these mountains to Baracoy. And in Baracoy, they're like famous for their chocolate and their hot chocolate. So I was like, oh, I have to go there. And that's like right at the end of Cuba. So checked out that for a couple of days as well. And then went back to Santiago de Cuba and flew to Havana, and then flew back to Cancun. Then from Cancun, I went down to Tulum, which has got a ruin right on the coast, magnificent views, and down to Playa del Carmen, which is like a sort of a mini Cancun. Like, it's a lot of partying, it's a lot of fun, but it's a lot smaller. On the beach, also really beautiful views and waters and white sands. And then from there, I went down to like a border town and went across by boat into Belize and went to this island and stayed there. And that was right next to the Blue Hole, the big blue hole that a lot of people go skydiving over and diving into. It's very popular. So that was fun. And then went back across to Belize City, and then another place on the border of Belize where I went caving, different things like that. That was super fun. And then went across into Guatemala. And Guatemala, if not my favorite country, would have to be up there in my favorite countries for this round the world trip that I did. It's just beautiful, green everywhere, really friendly locals, lots of color, like lots of their buildings and clothing. It's very colorful and very, it's just pleasing to the eye. It's really nice to look at. Went to like Lake Huánuco, which is this massive lake, and went to the old capital of Guatemala, and which is really cultural, and that's where I learned salsa dancing, because you could get private lessons of salsa dancing for super cheap there. So I was like going every day, every second day while I was in that town, trying to learn as much salsa as I could while I was there. So that was a lot of fun. And then after that, I went to El Salvador. Went across from El Salvador, which is a crazy crossing. We just went in like a minivan. It sort of takes you from spot to spot, and the roads are crazy there. So that was an adventure in itself. And then when I got to El Salvador, it was a surfing destination. That was just like everywhere you go along the coast, there's just these endless points that just roll on. So I had a lot of fun there, surfing and checking out that whole beach vibe in Central America. And then from there, I flew to Bogota in Colombia, which is the capital of Colombia. And I had about a 9-day stopover there, and that was fun. That was actually pretty scary walking around. There were some streets just walking around the city, which are, you know, you get that feeling in your gut and you're like, don't think I should be in this neighborhood. Maybe I should go back to more of a touristy destination, more touristy street. But that was still a lot of fun. So you just sort of take taxis everywhere when you're in that city, I found. But that was a really nice looking city as well. Really good views. It's all like in this valley. So the whole city is like in this valley. You can go up on cable cars to look over the whole city, which is really cool. And also this was very close to Christmas. So they had these big Christmas trees dotted all around the city, and they, you know, lit up at night, and they're really into the Christmas lights in Bogota. So that was really cool to look at. After that, I flew to Barcelona in Spain. So recently I was living in a villa in Thailand, and I was there for a full month with a bunch of friends that I went there with. We got out this awesome villa, we're living there, we rented a car for the month, we were going to the gym, we were going to the beach every day, we were going out every night.